Louis Vuitton fragrances, underrated or overrated? Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be talking about some Louis Vuitton fragrances that have been getting a lot of hype. A lot of them already do get hype, right? And some of which have fans that are like diehard, and some, I would argue and say, are really overhyped. So today, the fragrances in question are going to be some of which I really can't make the case for. These Louis Vuitton fragrances, for one reason or another, are just not worth it, in my opinion. And I'm going to start off with something that's been getting a lot more hype and one of the most expensive ones, which is going to be Symphony and also Myriad. Both of these fragrances are around 600 bucks, if I'm not mistaken, and both of them I paid around $1,200 for. Symphony, fresh, juicy, watery, that's it, man. There's a little fruits and musks, but that's it. That's all I really get from this scent profile. Maybe some ginger to kind of liven things up. A couple of key points to factor in when I make a decision or whether or not something is worth it is obviously in my experience with all these fragrances and perfumes that I've amassed over the years and experience. I start to, number one, pinpoint some of the qualities. This one absolutely has. But then I also consider the fact of some of the variables that we get back in returns, including what we actually get, the product in itself, the glass, the cap, all things considered. So in fact, this right here is where you're getting a lot of the value from. So if you were to take a 100 ml bottle, it's around $350 maybe to $400, but you tack this on at another 250 bucks. Now, I'm pretty damn sure that most of you guys out there that are picking this up are not picking it up because you know who the architect is that made this. But in fact, it is somebody who has a pretty good reputation. I don't even know. I'm not going to act like I know. But I know that this sculpture gets a lot of the price, or a lot of the price from this comes from this sculpture in itself. So we do have some value, right? And even if you want to quantify it, according to who is it valuable? You got to know the guy for it to even matter to you. For me personally, I don't. I'm not going to act like I do. But it's still a case to consider that is a value. The glass, you're getting objective value. The atomizer, they're pretty damn good. And the scent, it's a really high quality. The other factor that I would consider is performance, obviously. Now this, being though that it's a simple scent profile, its beauty is in the performance. So simple, yes, still really good, but also long-lasting with a fragrance that's this juicy, this watery, and this fresh. So sure, you get a lot of those aspects, but then one of the other things that, in my opinion, makes something really worth it is standing out. It's also being unique, especially once we break through a certain threshold of like $300, $350 and really classifying as a niche product, right? And that is one of the biggest things. For example, let me give you this case scenario, right? Since this is, as I established, pretty generic, let's think of another generic fragrance, if you will. So let's take YSL Myself. You take that exact same fragrance, now put a different cap on it. And we said that, you know, Pepe Le Pew made the damn cap, right? Actually, we've seen this happen in person. Sauvage Elixir was made with Baccarat, that $8,000 bottle. Obviously, it's on a greater scale, but you see where I'm coming from. So now if we take that same similar mass appealing scent, we add that sculpture that nobody really knows about, at least I don't. So now let me not say nobody knows about, but I don't know about it. The performance projection, it's still there. Okay, sure, it'll gain some value, but $650 value, I don't think so. Now, there are a lot of other things that come in a role or play in this one as well, which is going to include the name, obviously the branding, etc. But we're talking about a $600 fragrance that doesn't really smell pretty unique. So in this case, I would say that this is overhyped and overpriced. It smells great. It may get compliments. It'll last. But the scent profile is just so mass appealing that in all honesty, I wouldn't even, no way in hell. Now, for me personally, I do value a nice looking bottle on a shelf, personally. And so for me, it was kind of like, it's still something that's iconic, right? You have the Louis Vuitton, you have the architecture, and it's a talking point for me. So I'm not telling you whether or not it's worth it for you to purchase, but what I am saying is that if you are going into this purchasing a fragrance because it smells good or it's giving you something that you cannot obtain at this price, look elsewhere because it's not this. Moving on. This is called Myriad. Myriad has this oud rose powdery cacao with saffron. It is not mass appealing whatsoever. It does, in this case, have characteristic, if you want to quantify it like that. But then there's also this fine line between smelling good and wearability, right? A lot of people wouldn't even say that this smells good. In fact, the oud that's used in this one has a barnyardy undertone, kind of like poopy vibes. Simple as that. I would never wear this in the West. The only time that I would wear this is in a more accepted region, which is going to be in the East, and it's because of trained noses and more experience with fragrance notes like oud, naturals. Now, to my nose, I can see right past the poopy vibes, and I can smell it for what it is. It's oud. It's infected wood, basically. And in this one, it actually doesn't smell bad. But the way that this is combined, it's not necessarily necessarily favorable in my opinion. Although it's not my favorite oud fragrance, there are some aspects of this one that I like. The quality of it and also the talking point of it, and the fact that a lot of people really hate this for the poopy vibes. With that being said, this is also not worth it. $650 can actually get you a pretty damn good quality oud rose fragrance that's not from Louis Vuitton, that's not marked up. Now, if you want it for the, antiquity of it, right? You want the sculpture, go for it. By all means, I still think it's worth it only in that regards. But as a fragrance, no, man. There are better oud rose combinations out there that don't do the barnyard accord, that don't do the poopy vibes. At one point, I thought I could make it work, and maybe in the future I will, but at a level of like, go and buy this, you guys, like it will never be a recommendation. If somebody were to ask me about Symphony though, I could personally say that it's a good smelling fragrance and you'll like it. But that's the whole point, right? I don't think you should be, number one, blind buying a $600 fragrance. And number two, if you were thinking about it, bro, there are so many other fragrances for literally like $60 that would smell more unique than this. Moving on to the next two that I wanted to place in this video, and there are probably a couple more that I could have put in this video, but these are staring me in the face. These are some fragrances that have kind of been controversial for me to really decide on. Is this fragrance actually worth the price tag, considering the fact that the scent profile has been done so many times? And that's another thing you'll find with a lot of Louis Vuitton fragrances, and very specifically, Meteor. Meteor does a classic scent profile that I've smelled in like Azzaro Chrome, that I've smelled in like Tommy Hilfiger, along with L'Immensité. But the objective reality of the fact of its performance and its wearability is one where this one kind of redeems itself. So sure, you can smell like Azzaro Chrome, but you will never find this DNA, like Azzaro Chrome, or Azzaro Chrome Extreme, I believe it is, to last this long, to be done at this concentration, nor to have this high quality of ingredients. So sure, if you want this scent profile done at a much cheaper level, let me grab it. You can literally just get Azzaro Chrome. It smells really damn close to it. However, the opening, the mandarin note in this, it's a lot juicier, it's a lot more vibrant, so it really depends on how much you like a classic scent profile. And now this is one where I'll lean into more so of it might be worth it. I don't think that spending this kind of money should just be done blindly. However, it is a pretty safe purchase. It's musky, it's very classic, and a timeless scent profile that's been revived basically from this. Or you can grab this for about $35, and you might have to spray it on every like 3-4 hours, but still, bro, you're talking about $35 to $500. Or this is, I think it's, this one's around $500, the big one. Now, with that being said, if you already established the fact that you like these scent profiles and you're just absolutely in love with it, this is one of those cases where I would say go for it. I didn't make the same case for something like Symphony because it's significantly more expensive and you are objectively paying a little bit more for this cap. So if you're going into it for a fragrance, it's harder to make a case because you already know that you're being charged a little bit more for that. Now, if it were like this and a little bit cheaper, it's easier to make the case for it, but it's not. This one, however, it's like the cream of the crop when it comes to these musky, classic, aromatic, woody scent profiles. It lasts longer. It's this at the highest quality. Sure, you can buy like 6 of these, or maybe even, shit, you can buy 20 of these. You could literally buy like 15 to 20 of these instead of this. But if you're like a diehard, you absolutely want to find a reason to get it, that would pretty much be the only reason. In terms of its mass appeal and whether or not it's unique, it's not unique. It is mass appealing. Really, the only two things it has going for it is going to be its performance and its quality of ingredients. It's nothing brand new. You are objectively wearing one of the highest qualities in this scent profile. And the last one, very, very similar to Meteor, is going to be L'Immensité. Now, these are the two scent profiles that, gentlemen, you can wear every single day that both hit the same check marks, right? Quality and performance. Now, these are two that, gentlemen, hit a couple of those checkpoints, right, that we discussed. We said that you're getting objective, tangible quality, which in this, not necessarily. You're just getting a magnetic cap and you're getting the Louis Vuitton hand-polished bottles. These are still very high-quality bottles, but you see what you're getting, right? It's standard. There's nothing special. And you're also not getting anything that's brand new. But however, there are still some cases, and this is really where it comes down to you guys. You just take this in and you take it as a guide and you determine whether or not it's right for you. In the two other aspects, they are worth it. And this one very similarly. In the fact that you're getting the highest of quality of ingredients, in this category, it's doing it one of the best. And in the performance, you're definitely getting that. So it really comes down to this. How do you quantify your value? Do you want a fragrance that you spend over $300 for that's super unique, super like, head turning? What the hell is that? Or do you want the head turning factor in a scent profile that's not that unique, which you can have a mass appealing factor or a compliment getting fragrance without it being too unique, and you just want it done at the best quality? I think there's value in both, and that's why I made the case for Meteor in specific cases. There is no black and white in any of this. It's all color. You just choose which colors and which paths is right for you. Now, in this case, let me, solidify that a little bit more by defining the case with this. Now, in this case, this reminds me of also classic gentleman fragrances, less musky and a little bit more effervescent, or I should say energizing, if you will. More around the ginger side, and in fact, this reminds me of a mashup between these style of classic fragrances and more so like YSL L'Homme, that fragrance right there. It's a little bit more vibrant, it's louder, while still also having that aromatic and musky undertone. If you were to ask me which one I would go with, gentlemen, it's easy, it's L'Immensité. But it also does remind me of like the era of like uncle fragrances, in every good way, in the best way possible. Now, for me, if I were to quantify and be like, man, I really want super unique fragrances, I wouldn't be getting value out of this one. And I would say, no, this is not worth it for me. Now, if I were quantifying my value in the best of what it's doing, that's where this would come into play. And that's really how it goes with a lot of these. Now, like I said, it's harder to make the case with these because, that's still that area of the cap, you're kind of losing money. But if we were to remove that, this is still also doing something really, really well without the cap. But it just, with this, it completely takes itself out of the equation, unless you value these sculptures, which are, personally, I mean, who do you know making sculpture caps? So, so to summarize things up, L'Immensité is not gonna be anything brand new. It's definitely going to be something that's of high-ass quality. It's absolutely going to last as well. The tangible value is, as you see it right here, you're having a Louis Vuitton, bottle, and really that's as much value as you're gonna get, the fact that it has Louis Vuitton's branding on it, and you're not getting anything brand new. So in my opinion, if you're buying fragrances like YSL L'Homme, and this is one of the cases where this one might still be worth it, and I'll tell you why. Because YSL L'Homme, unfortunately, doesn't last. And you'll be left looking for a lot of fragrances in this realm, in this niche. The ones that last are too dated, and they last because they have harsher, strong-ass ingredients that are just dated, whereas these use more modern ingredients. For example, this fragrance, it doesn't last, but it does have a slight undertone of like old school. This fragrance does last, and it removes some of that old school. So these are for those who are more into detail, who are true fragrance collectors, or even those who want to just like buy 5 and be done with it completely. And you're just like, screw it, I want the best of what it's doing, then that's when I'd recommend these. And now, if you're one who's more conscious and you're looking for lesser investments in top terms of dollars, I would recommend you stay completely the fudge away from Louis Vuitton fragrances. There are so many inspos and dupes that are good. But if you're one who wants just one and done, absolute best quality, these are outstanding. With that being said, there could still be a smarter investment in purchasing some of the inspos that get stupid close. But I'll tell you guys right now, there are some that'll never touch this level for objective quality. L'Immensité, this one, I mean, dude, like you can get close, but it will never perform and you'll end up buying a bunch of Azzaro chromes. But something like Symphony, I mean, you could just buy a clone, bro. At this point, it's just stupid, in my opinion. And with something like Meteor, you'll also be back in the same case scenario. So this isn't black and white, like I said. There are a lot of fragrances that are so like dependent and contingent on A, your taste, what you're looking for, and also B, the market and what the fragrances themselves do. And if you guys want to support videos like this, just make sure to leave a like and hit the follow because this takes time. You have to study fragrances, you have to wear them, and you also have to wear fragrances that get close and similar to and really break down these scent profiles, which I spend days and hours in every hour of my day. And all you have to do is hit that subscribe button so I can continue doing exactly that. So if you ask me, these two are worth it, and everything else with these little like umbrellas, just pass. Have a good day.